Hello, good evening. I hope everyone is well. Hold on 1 second. I've already broke my. Here I am. I'm still here. Can you hear me? Can you see me? It is a new era for the Hulbert House Show. Not really, but more on that in a moment. Okay. Um. All right. I think everything's working. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all well. It is a glorious Monday evening. It's actually quite hot. Uncomfortably so, if I'm being honest. My hair is, I mean, let's be real, it's fucking incredible. All right, let's be honest. I did it again, I swear, in the first 3 minutes. Hello, everyone. This is the Hulbert House Show. It is July 29th, and it's a new era for the Hulbert House Show because it is on here live on the Late Night Grin channel, which I'm going to explain in a moment. But first, we're going to let people join us. I know this was late notice. I know this is on a different channel. Very confusing. We have the new setup here, the confirmed shoot, whipped together, even though I did just cost him money, as he says in the chat. To be fair, the ad revenue is not really a great triumph of the Late Night Grin, to be honest. I know this will shock you all, folks, but our 800 to 1,000 views, it's very minimal payouts. I've only been sent a couple for $5,000-6,000 by YouTube. Obviously, I haven't cut anyone on yet. Yeah, I have a minimum of 20 before anyone else gets any. So it's working out okay, but this will not be one of those monetized videos. Sadly, it is what it is. All right. Now, I've joked around about it being a new era, but not a new era, but maybe a new era, and I will explain that here momentarily. First, let's catch up on the chat. I have a couple of things I want to talk about today. I don't expect this to be a long show. I don't expect this to be a big house. But I do expect it to be a fun time, as always, talking about professional wrestling. All right. Let's get into it here. JJ, the Iron Claw, Joe Hulbert of Dallas, Texas, which will be one of our topics, not me. Well, I will be one of our topics, but another one of our topics will be the Von Erich boys and the glory that occurred this past Saturday night in Arlington. Honestly, almost has to be the coolest moment in the history of the Battle of the Belts, right? It kind of has to be. I mean, that's not exactly a prestigious honor, but I mean, I feel like it's got to be the 1 seed. Certainly a contender for it. We'll get into that more in a moment. There's a lot of stuff clearly we're going to get into in a moment here. Indeed, TakeOver. The WWF now owns WCW. JHP is no more. Sort of. It's now a brand-like entity, like ECW in 2006. How the Burt is back in town. I don't know how many of you were around when the Burt was a thing, but there was a show we used to do on Patreon for the Late Night Grin called The Burt, and this was the intro. Always makes me laugh. Always manages to make me laugh. Chuck is in the chat. More Von Erich's talk. Tope's right. Leave a like, you cost a limp in a gold medal. It's factual. We are locked in. Yes, absolutely. Pop indeed. My day is going great. I hope yours is going good. What else have we got here in the chat? The king of conversational content. That's one way to put it. Their hair is hairing. Many are saying, look at the grey, just flair, adds personality. I love it. Doing good, guys, doing good. I appreciate the love in the chat. Yes, indeed. Some bloodline talk. Leave 6 stars going on the screen for a second. I will not. Eva will be absolutely tweeting about my free agency, yes. It's part of our friendship. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Okay. I think I'm caught up. I think enough people are here. Let's kind of figure out where we're at. What is your understanding of the face card? I honestly don't have an understanding of it. I think it just means that someone has like an attractive face. And if it never declines, I think that means that they always look good. They always look pretty, which sounds like a description of me. But beauty in the eye of the beholder and things of that nature. But yeah, I did pop myself with that on whatever day that was. Okay. I want to kind of do broad strokes talk because I know that a lot of people are not even going to be aware why this is not on the other channel. It's very confusing, which is part of why I think we're best to just do this now, explain it, and then when things change in a couple months, it will be less change then than it will be if we do it all at once. So this is going to be my best shot explaining what's going on in the world of Late Night Grin and Joe Hulbert Promotions. Last week, I did my first solo stream in a couple months, and I talked about there being these two paths that I very much had an understanding of what I wanted to do or where I was going to go. And there were two paths in front of me. And I alluded to this, and I have no problem saying it more bluntly. If I did not then, I forget what I say and don't say on the air. Basically, what I mean by that is, in the months of August and September, my intention is to see what is out there in the wonderful world of wrestling media. Now, the truth is, it isn't particularly wonderful in any shape or fashion. But my intention is to just see what's out there. And if nothing else, it absolutely, just a minimum, I would like to do some guest spots, make some towns, I guess, so to speak. And that could be any kind of show, right? That could be a brand new show, or that could be a heavy hitter maybe that I could do a one-off on, or whatever it may be. My intention is to kind of just bounce around a little bit in August and September. In a couple of days here, August will kick off, and I will celebrate that in a fashion befitting the plan that I just laid out there. So stay tuned for that. If there is nothing that I look at in that time and say, well, that's a great opportunity, or that is a very financially viable, significant opportunity, then we will be moving forward with something that we've talked about a lot, and something that I've kind of touched on this channel, not this channel, on the other channel for maybe 4 months now, which is the idea of an LNG membership plan. Now, this is something that is actually further along than I expected it to be, because I am, as many of you will know, completely and entirely insane. And so I don't simply say we will do an LNG membership plan. I begin to ponder, what is that plan? What are the offerings of that plan? How can we give the folks the best bang for their buck, or multiple bucks for that matter? And what does it look like, basically? And I've got pretty far along in this project over the last month. Much of July has been kind of pondering this and getting a grip on everything, and what it would look like. I'm sorry, there's a lot of noise. There's a party of some kind going on. Let me close this window and sweat a little bit more. All right. Hopefully my sound's fine. And one of those things that I just thought immediately made sense was, why bother having two channels? A part of that membership plan should be Joe Hulbert Promotions, which will be its own tier if indeed this comes to fruition. Now, that comes with a catch of sorts that I will explain in momentarily. Just give me a second here. Now, considering that's where we're headed, it felt foolish, to be honest with you, to keep building and adding to a channel that we're ultimately going to be discarding in the coming months anyway, right? So it made sense. Let's just do it now. Don't have an ad already spoiled our announcement by guessing that it was going to be a thing we did through pure luck, which is hilarious. Hopefully this week or next week there'll be a hanging with Hulbert. So why do that there when we're just going to be moving it over anyway, right? It just doesn't make sense. So it's one of those things that I was planning to do, and then as soon as I thought about it, I was like, that's dumb. I might as well just move it over now. So I'll get into this now because I think it's best to be transparent with the audience. If the LNG membership plan became a thing, the way it would work would be, this show you are currently watching, the solo show, would be the only show, and I don't say this lightly, folks, so please bear with me. It would be the only show that you've been able to watch for free that would be paywalled. Now, firstly, I apologize. I get that sucks. Here is why. Contrary to what Dukes claimed earlier, I actually don't think this show works particularly well in the super chat format, because I don't actually want to do super chat Q&As. The idea is I just literally read the chat, right? And I just I just look at the chat. I'm 20 minutes behind. I scroll and I answer the questions. And I think that would work better in that format, being a kind of a tighter community thing, and it is paywalled. But more importantly, and this is the real key, and this is what I think makes it worthwhile, if we take that step, the reason for that would be, this would not be a thing I do occasionally and randomly when I have some time. It would be a part of my weekly schedule. In fact, it would be a part of my weekly schedule on a couple of occasions. It'd be something I would do twice a week, perhaps, with other spin-off shows that are solo shows. So it would not be something that I would do lightly. It would not be something I'd be trying to kind of con anyone or take advantage of anyone. It would be a case of making a step to make the shows better, basically. Now, on the bright side, I hope this is all making sense. Chat, tell me if this is making sense. On the bright side, Hanging with Hulbert will not be paywalled. Reason being, we have no idea when we're going to do it. It's almost always impromptu. And it feels like the least I could do for those of you that have followed me on the Hulbert Promotions channel. I don't want to just hide all that stuff away moving forward. Hanging with Hulbert will just live on the Late Night Grin channel as part of the, I don't know, usual offerings. Now, again, how often it happens, it's something that we just kind of do on random, right? So I hope that all adds up. Now, the funniest thing about doing all this is absolutely none of this may come into action. For all we know, folks, I could be doing the top 10 reasons TNA sucks video next week and being paid handsomely for the trouble. We don't know, right? That's the beauty of this business. Capital T and capital B. But that is generally the plan. That is why now these shows will live on this channel for moving forward, or on an LNG membership plan moving forward. The old channel will stay up because I know a lot of you guys like revisiting stuff. I know you guys like especially Hanging with Hulbert. So yeah, all of that stuff will stay up. It's added on latenightgrin.com just for completion sakes. But yeah, that's basically where we're at. I hope that made sense. Also, it should be noted that the Hulbert Promotions tier would be the cheapest one. And again, once I actually lay it out for you guys, I think it will add up why I think it will make sense. Unless it doesn't happen, which would be even funnier. So, with all of that established, yes, it's confirmed shoot. Thank you. Also important, when I say the only show that you currently get for free that will be paywalled, by that, of course, I mean the flagship will live as it is on the channel without any pay, and so will Grin Grappler as a monthly. So what you currently get on Late Night Grin for free would stay free. The only show in this cinematic universe that would no longer be would be the one you're currently watching, and there would be good reason for that, and it would be a far more consistent thing. I think that covers everything. It is going to be absolutely incredible when none of this, not a single thing of it, has any relevance or importance in 4 weeks' time. It's going to be unbelievable. And that's the beauty of this game. You know, you just talk. Most of the stuff you say has no sense or importance whatsoever. And these are the games we play. All right. It will be neither WWE Network price or CMLL premium subscription. We do for those. Okay. Enough about the Late Night Grin and Hulbert Promotions. Let's do some professional wrestling questions. They can also be questions about everything I just talked about. But I think I probably spoke about that enough based on the fact that it isn't even happening yet. Right? It'd probably be foolish of me. But yeah, the thing is, folks, I like to be transparent with these things. I don't want to just ambush you one day. You know? I don't want to just like one day sort of roll up on YouTube and go, right, I see it's all give me your money. I don't actually want to do that, believe it or not. So let's do some wrestling questions and then we'll see what happens. Maybe this is going to be the end of the show. Maybe I'll just end the show by just doing a 15-minute what if scenario about the Late Night Grin before announcing that I've signed with Sports Keeda or some shit. I don't know. I don't know. All right. Let's see what's happening. Chris said something in the chat that I missed. This is also true. 6-star has undeniably been conned here, if we're being real. But I mean, these are the games we play. Don't do business with a carny. So Chris asked, what does this mean for Tope and I's Legends deal? Sorry to say, Chris, I've actually negotiated a new deal with Tope as a lead editor of the Late Night Grin. So I think Tope is not your concern, but your deal is, well, your deal is not really much of a deal at all anymore, we'll be honest. It's a new game, it's a new day. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. Okay. What do we got here? Joe, what are your thoughts on Marigold World Champ Suri and Wonder of Stardom Champ Natsupoi tagging on the Suriism show? Well, that sounds like a real extravaganza, a blockbuster affair, no doubt. I would say that makes this this show a sort of 6-star invitational of sorts, quite frankly. That's like your equivalent of, like Sam Joe and Rod Strong teaming up for JHP. So pretty sick. Okay. Yes, like when Undertaker won the Rumble and acted like a Pete Lashley. Exactly. Thoughts on the MXM lads? Dude, I thought they were tremendous on Saturday. It actually kind of stunned me how good they were, to be honest. And I don't mean that in a sense that I don't mean that to suggest that I expect them to, be bad or anything like that. I was encouraged on Friday. I saw them wrestle in France last year on a house show, and they were okay. And they've got their shtick's good, and they're a good act. On Friday, athletically, I thought they was encouraging, and I thought Saturday would be like steady. It was FTR's first match back, and I went, but I thought it actually came out like I didn't think it was just a good show. I thought they actually had a very good match. I think Mansoor is actually a really good pro wrestler based on what I saw on Saturday. Now I may be getting hasty there and ahead of myself. Perhaps there'll be evidence in the coming weeks that I'm being dramatic there. It didn't look to me like a case of FTR dragging guys to a good match. It looked to me like FTR trusted them, gave them a lot of space and a lot of room and a lot of shine. And it looked to me like they made the most of that. I thought the match came out really, really well. Really well. I thought they killed it. And honestly, if they can be, 75% of that on a regular, they're going to be a great help to the division. Seriously. Like, in the division, I think there's always room for variety in terms of personality too. And I think the tag division just needs acts that have that are identifiable and have a distinct personality and presence and style. I'm really bullish on what they can add. Now, again, I'm not saying they're going to be the world's champions. I think it's pretty apparent they're not going to be for some time. But what a great start. Great start. That crowd was awesome on Saturday, which we'll get into as we go here. But yeah, tremendous stuff. Tremendous. I'm not sure about this one. I don't know. Maybe I do say bro a lot, which is unfortunate. This would be very funny, but I don't think this is likely to have Wrestling Observer Hole, but it'd be a very funny press release, though. Of course, I would be the one doing the press release, but... Are you legally allowed to discuss the dollar amount being discussed in these JHP media risks? It's big time, yeah. I mean, Bob pushes a hard bargain, right? It's difficult. I kind of felt like I was already doing the guys a favor by bringing this stuff over here, but... Bob, he marches to beat his own drum. I'm not going to put a number on it because I think he'd take me to court, but 1 second. Oh my God, dude. I'm sorry, but some people tweet I'm sorry. I really apologize for being distracted, but I'm just amazed by the hubris of people sometimes and their absolute glee at speaking on things they just don't know anything about. It blows my mind. I cannot believe it. Anyway. I can't discuss it too much. To whoever asked that, I've lost the name now. Okay. Thank you, Novi. Novi was great on Friday's show. Go check that out on this very channel. To counteract Ibu, please tell me why Cody and Solo will be good. I think it absolutely can be good. I think heat is the biggest key there, and will decide how high it climbs or how far it falls. If the crowd is fresh, it should have great heat because Solo, whatever you want to say about Solo, the people do not like him, and it should, in theory, make the match easy. The issue is there are X factors at play there, and there are different, moving pieces. If the show is 4.5 hours deep and they send out Solo Sikoa to take it all, so to speak, that hot crowd may not be so hot. So, I think the obvious example in that regard is Jey Uso and Roman Reigns, right? That was a match that was going to live and die on atmosphere, and by the time they got to the match, I think the people were exhausted. So I think this is a similar situation. I'll be honest, I don't think there's any world in which it's terrible. I might be wrong. Maybe it's just a complete catastrophe. I don't think that's likely, personally. I'm pretty confident it'll be just dead set in the middle. I think it'll be decent, okay, with some bells and whistles down the stretch. I don't really have a huge problem with it, personally. I think what I will say is I think they would be well served to break from, I would not try and have a Roman Reigns main event in terms of layout and pace and length. I think they would be well served to mix that up, maybe go more of a fast-paced moves match and then get into smoke and mirrors and interferences and run-ins. I think there are a lot of ways to do the match that works, but I do think if you try and do a 30-minute singles match, 4.5 hours into the show, I do think that could be a tough slog. Even if it's not mechanically terrible, I could see that version of it being a real, rough night at the office. So I hope that makes sense. Joe, DG to NXT or stay in AEW? Really tough question. Really complicated question. I mean, the lazy answer, but the truthful answer is he's got to do whatever feels right ultimately, right? I mean, I know it's not the sexy answer. I was making for the best headline, but, you have to. It has to be your decision, otherwise you regret it, right? It's like anything. I think NXT is very attractive to any wrestler right now. I think there is also good reason, though, to be hesitant or concerned about the main roster and how it's currently shaped and where DG would fit. So that complicates things, right? I think NXT in a vacuum, I think it's easy to be very bullish on that. I would be much more hesitant about what follows that. I think there's good reason to be hopeful that the AEW run and the AEW push is actually starting to click. I think there's also good reason to be hopeful that the angle they just shot would set Dan up to be given a fresh start as a character, right? Daddy Magic said that, when he comes back, it'll be Red Death. And to me, that's more important than almost anything than wins and losses or titles. I think Daniel Garcia's ceiling is very reliant on that being the case. So I don't have a strong answer because ultimately it's not my choice and it's not my life. It's a hard one. If I was in his shoes, which I clearly am not, I'd probably lean AEW because the main roster element is so hard to gauge right now. The strength he has on wherever he does, the strength he has is he is super young. He could sign a 3-year deal and be, how old would he be when he gets out, like 28, which is crazy. So whatever happens, I'll be watching. I'll be rooting for him. I think he'll be fine regardless. But shout out to DG. I hope he is well. Okay. True. Factual. Hope you're well, 6-star. Go check out 6-star's appearance on LNG 117. A classic. An absolute. Oh my God, I'm so far behind the chat. Oh no. Way far. All right. It's fine. We're going to do this. I do not have a comment on Hate, the new faction, although I saw many opinions on it that made me laugh. Yes. Thank you, confirmed true. The other thing to know is whatever happens with Joe Burt and his business dealings as a free agent, the Late Night Grin flagship will live. That is not saying that's in jeopardy. Don't worry. So it basically is a case of you're either going to get more of what I'm doing right now, plus more of this stuff, or you're going to get the same amount plus other weird stuff. Is there going to be a tier where you do a weekly review of a Gallows and Anderson NXT match? Anything is possible. There will be a show where you guys pick matches for me to review, modern and old. So, in theory, Prinny Bro, you could dedicate your membership to just exclusively selecting Gallows and Anderson NXT matches, which honestly would be a great bit. Does this mean you won't be on Wrestle Purist? It does not mean I won't be on Wrestle Purist moving forward. It more means that we will be figuring out and playing around with what that would look like. Basically, to be further transparent, after I've already bored everyone with this, I apologize, folks. But at least this is me actually answering a question. That's the least I can do. Unless I am like getting, how do I put this? For the amount of work I'm putting in to review like a weekly show and stuff, I need a certain amount of reward at this point for that to be worth my while, basically. And as I talked about last week, that's not a reflection of Wrestle Purists. It's just like, it's hard, man. Like I was legitimately exhausted, and I didn't have much to show for it because there isn't much to show for it when you're a new site and you're finding your way. So I don't know if you'll see me like do something like I did the Dynamite review before, because I just don't know if that's something that I can commit the time to in good faith at this point in the game. I've been doing this for a really long time. But you'll see me be around because I'm always going to be part of that squad. Like earlier today, I sent my star ratings in. Like, I got a lot of love for those folks, and I'll work with, I'm sure, a bunch of them in different shape and form. If there's not a spot for me in the media game, quote unquote, you're going to see me really lean heavily on stuff that I enjoy in wrestling. If the membership thing is not a case of like, I'm going to just review all the wrestling TV and drive myself fucking insane. Like I'm believe it or not, thankfully at this point in my life, I'm smarter than that. But it would instead be the wrestling that I love. And more importantly, I think discovering wrestling, watching new stuff, letting you guys decide what I watch, community stuff, watch alongs. That's the stuff that I really enjoy at this point in the game. That's like the real fun to me. We did a show a couple of weeks back with the marathon show that was like 8 hours or whatever it may be, and it made me, in fear of being happy, I was very proud of that show and the way that it came off, in the sense that the vibe I want to create with those shows is a party. That's a pretty boring party, right? There isn't like liquor or food Alex had a pizza. It's really just a bunch of nerds watching wrestling, but I just love the idea of people coming and going. There's this huge cast of characters that you guys get to know, and you'll like, you have your favorites, and you'll agree with some and disagree with others. The community element of the Late Night Grin is what we would be leaning on if we do a membership thing. It will not be a case of like, and now on, Wednesday, Oracle and I review Raw. Like, I don't think either of us want to do that. But I could absolutely see something where it's like, on Wednesday, Oracle and I watch Shotgun Saturday Night. Join us. Here's the link. Like, that's the shit I want to do more of. And that's the stuff that the last couple months kind of been eye-opening, in terms of you can actually do this in whichever way you want to. And unless there's like a spot for me to be paid handsomely to just play the hits and do what everyone else is doing, I'd actually like to do my own thing. So that's kind of where I'm at. And that can involve Wrestle Purists. Absolutely it can. I spoke to Monty earlier today about all of this, actually. So, yeah. I hope that made sense. Red Velvet is a top 5 woman in AEW Ring of Honor. I don't care. I don't know about that Mavs fan, but I like Red Velvet so much, I'm just going to say yes. I've seen you reviewed a bunch of Shawn Michaels matches on the Cage Match. Have you appreciated his work more, less, or the same since rewatching some of his stuff? More, definitely more. I always knew when I was doing Shawn slander that I was doing mostly a bit. I'm not like oblivious to how good he was. Yeah, he's prime physically is superb. I don't love old man Sean. Maybe if I revisited that would change. I did love the match with Randy Orton that I recently watched. You may have saw my review for that on the cage match. You brought it up. But I mean, his physical prime is just spectacular to watch. Stylistically, I'll never be as into his stuff as I am like Brett's, but that's a taste thing, as all of this is, of course. But yeah, I do really enjoy watching him at this point in my fandom because I've said a lot on here. Like, I'm more and more in love with that traditional US big time worker style of the motion he'll create, the way that he places his high spots, what his high spots are. I have a great time watching that stuff. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Absolutely, it was kind of coincidental because I had the '96 DVD, but it was very fun. Speaking of, by the way, those cage match reviews now at the end of every week, I'm going to just post them on my WordPress thing so that you guys don't have to like find my profile. That's very lame. I'm not familiar with these gentlemen, no. Ibu is, though. I know Ibu's talked about some of these fellas. I wasn't a big fan at that point in my life. I would love to talk to Dave about Jake Lee, absolutely. Falls in the SummerSlam card overall. 7 singles is genuine interest in the stadium card. I think they're going to add Uncle Howdy and Gable, to be honest. But yeah, it is. I didn't think about how heavy it is on singles. It's a good point. I think it's pretty middling, to be honest. I'm really excited for Drew and Punk, but less so with the special guest referee thing. Not because Seth, but because like it changes the match, right? Like I think it kind of suggests the kind of match they're going to have, which is fine. I'm excited to see Roman. I think that's a lock. But like match wise, there isn't a lot for me to latch on to, if I'm honest. Gunther and Priest, I actually think will greatly over deliver, and I think they're going to have a really good match. I don't love the card though, to be honest with you. But I mean, there's something to be said for shows of that scale, regardless. I think it'll be fun. I'm not fired up about it, to be honest. Don't have an out says Falls on the SmackDown Tag Gauntlet. I liked it. So I had some issues with it. None of them were really with the booking or the mechanics of the match. The main issue the match had, which is just out of everyone's control, it was a double taping and the people were very, very tired. I mean, hilariously tired. Like it was the loudest they got was when Solo stood at ringside. Like it was noticeable. It was not, exactly jumping up and down for it. At one point there was a horrible sound edit that drove me nuts too, but I still thought it was pretty good and there was a lot to like. I appreciated they made it kind of a street profit vehicle because let's be honest, that's way overdue, right? They've had a really weird like year or so, it feels like. I thought it effectively shined them up, but while doing the bigger plan of continuing to make Jacob Fatu look like a killer. So I thought it was very efficient, very tidy block of TV on a tape show. I didn't think it was like more than that, but I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. I think Apollo and Baron Corbin are a fun team too. Very fun team. It also helps that the SmackDown tag division gets like no shine at all generally. So it gives you it gives you a chance to spotlight them, even in the tape seeing. I'm sure the viewership is still strong. So isn't this Arlington spot lovely? It is, dude. Again, visually, I wish there was bleachers, but the sound they're making, considering it's a flat building, is actually incredible. It probably sounds crazy loud in there because generally flat buildings, the sound doesn't hit the ring the same. The fact that it sounds the way it does on TV suggests that it is outrageously loud in the building. I mean, Saturday's crowd, I think, is one of the best they've ever had. Josh has heard Big Dwayne's done shooting his movie. Think he'll be back by War Games. I think War Games will be his return, yes. I think so. Hangman versus Okada or Hangman Double J at Wembley? I think Hangman Okada is the match. I would prefer the latter because I don't really see the value in Hangman working a heel match at this point when he's just come back, but I don't know. I'm not sure. Some love for Mansoor. Joe, is Tanahashi at his peak better than Brett and HBK in their primes? I know Shawn was a huge influence on him. I think that's an easier comparison. I think Tanahashi was definitely better than Shawn in his prime. That's not a slight on Shawn, to be clear. I just praised him moments ago, but I think Tanahashi is a genuine all-timer. Yeah, so I think that one I'm confident. The Brett one I find to be a very hard comparison. I think there's some similarities in the way they would wrestle as the ace, in the sense that Brett was also brilliant at leaning heel when he needed to. Like I look at like the 1-2-3 Kid match and kind of the way he adjusts. That was, Tanahashi would have performances like that, where the people would kind of root against the status quo and he would go with it while being the babyface and being the top star. So there's similarities, but stylistically there's a lot of differences. You know, Brett's priorities was that kind of physical, tight work, very mechanical, very cerebral with the way he approached, very matter of fact, his work. Don't get me wrong, he produced immense drama, but I think Tanahashi was someone who really relished a more sort of, he would reach for that drama in a much more Shawn Michaels way, if that makes any sense. So they're very different. If you just said to me, put on a Tanahashi match or a Brett match, I would probably pick Tanahashi. I think there is more heart and emotion to his, top 25, we'll say, than Brett's. Brett's absolute best stuff is some of the best stuff in the history of wrestling, though. So it's very difficult. Brett did have that mode, though, where he could kind of go through the motions, is, one way of putting it. But yeah, some of the TV stuff. You haven't seen Brett on TV, like, he can be a little bit too dry sometimes in that scene. And he's one of my all-time favorites. We're picking between Tanahashi and Brett here. Two all-timers, obviously. All right. This is very good. Thank you. I know it's only been around for a little over a year, but the last episode of Collision is one of the best, if not the best episode in its history. I absolutely loved it. It was very, very fun, dude. I'd have to really reflect on the great history of the Collision. It was one of the most enjoyable shows in a long time, for sure. The crowd was a big part of that. The amount of action was a big part of that. It was just tremendous. Tremendous stuff. We have a super chat. I have purposely gone against promoting them heavily because, like, no, I've just read it and it's funnier. The super chat is Magic Hunter. This is a super chat show, right? All seriousness, make that bread. It is technically a super chat show, but I don't want to promote because then I feel like I'm changing the show. And again, I explained it at length. I don't need to do it again, but that's part of why I think the show will work better the way that we intend to do it. But thank you very much, nonetheless. I appreciate it greatly. Who are the coolest wrestlers of all time? Where does Kenny Omega land on that list for you? Depends what version of Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega walking out the Tokyo Dome is pretty cool, but he's also a different kind of cool. He's not necessarily where my mind would go when I think cool. I would think like, Hall and Nash, I think were pretty damn cool. I would say, let me think here. Cool wrestlers is not a long list, if we're being honest. I mean, cool and wrestler is kind of at odds with each other, right? Not really things that generally have worked together well historically in the professional wrestling industry. Try to think. Wrestlers that are cool. Actually cool. It's a very good question. Very good question. Chat, who are the cool wrestlers? Are there any? See, Sid's like, he's cool, but then when he talks, Sid's not so cool. Tetsuya Naito, it's cool. Yes. Keiji Muto. Goldberg was pretty cool, but then Goldberg would, I was going to say Goldberg slams his head against the door, but then that actually clicked for me. That's cooler. I think Big Rome is cool. Yeah, I do think Roman Reigns is cool, I got to say. Hard not to be cool when you're that handsome, to be fair. Yeah, there's not many, I must say. Chono's a good one. Dwayne can be very cool, but he can actually cross where he tries to be too cool and becomes less cool. It's a science. Asuka is cool. Interesting. Didn't answer your question at all. There it is. All right. How do you feel about MVP and Bloodsport? Incredibly beast. He looked absolutely jacked. He looks hilarious. He's also a legitimate black belt in jiu-jitsu, which I did not know. He's a beast, dude. He recently got the stem cell business. He's ready to go. He's locked in. I don't know if that match will be any good, but I'm more than happy to pretend. More than happy. Who should beat Roxanne for the belt like a swerve that none of the new signings do and Jordan beats her down the line? Your faults. I like a swerve. That was Andrew saying, sorry. It feels lazy to say it, but it does feel like with the CW thing looming, we're only a couple months away now. It feels likely they're going to use that as like a launching pad for a Julia or a Stephanie Vaca, right? It feels like it. I don't know who the name would be beyond that because I don't follow closely enough. From what I see, there isn't an obvious one, especially now that she's beat Lola, who probably isn't. I mean, I don't know what ready is really, but I'd assume she's not ready to be the world's champion in NXT. So yeah, I'd imagine it will be one of the two new signings on the first couple episodes on the CW would be my guess. Maybe I don't know if they're still going to do the arena premiere they were planning. But if they are, then that would probably be the spot, right? I think Steph, maybe. Burgers or tacos for Izzy Life Burgers? Hilarious question in the midst of this. Did you watch the CM Punk Road Warriors match? I did not. I saw they uploaded it, though. Okay. Do you think it'd be smart for Jones to retire after he destroys Stipe? He's already the GOAT. I don't know. I think the Aspinall thing has picked up such steam now that I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I don't want to say legacy damaging because that'd be dramatic, but he's like right on his doorstep, you know? Very difficult. I don't think the fight's going to happen, though. I think ultimately history will reflect on his record and he'll be, you know, his legacy. Anything that will trouble John Jones' legacy will be stuff outside the cage anyway. So I think there's truth to your point. Okay. I would like to note that Montel is not lowballing me. We're paid very fairly at the Wrestle Purists, I must say. I've just been doing this for a long time, and I'm now seeking. Well, you know already. Operation Get Paid. Joe, when you say the wrestling you love, do you mean the best of Bliss Cross? Thanks for helping. Absolutely, exactly what I meant. Yeah, that is exactly what I had in mind. Can't wait to do a whole series. Alex and I are just going through all of it. That weird time where they were trying to do a 3D with a DDT on the end of it was glory days, brother. Glory days. Glory days. I hope the next door's party is not bleeding into the sound here, folks. Nobody says, what will this new rebrand mean for all my fleet guest scripts? It will mean nothing. You're booked. You may even be booked on Saturday. I don't know yet. I haven't figured out. Jesus wept. It's a Monday. Okay, guys, can you hear that? Tell me if you can hear that. Chuck was there, of course, on the famed 8-hour show. She said she doesn't remember any of the last hour, which fair. I barely remember any of it. There was comments quoting things that I didn't remember. Didn't know what they were referencing, but I just hit the heart thing anyway. It was a great time. Great time. Did you see the whole shit old wrestling stinks actually discourse from yesterday? People were talking about Bruno and shit, and I was so confused as to what it was supposed to be for. Yeah, I saw a bit of it. I don't really understand I don't really understand. I don't get this like weird desperation to clash these things all the time, and everything has to be like a side of a debate. And it's just, I don't know. It's not for me. That's why I generally don't tweet in that fashion. It is not for me. Okay. Appreciate the love in the chat. Sorry, but I'm slightly behind some. I'm hurrying slightly. Joe Bing Bong making an appearance on the Stevie Richards. Dude, Stevie's channel is crazy. He's going for it. I respect it, kind of. He's going for it. Joe, did you enjoy the Dragunov slander the other day? Yes. I was going to lie. No point. Yes. Do you think a lot of the MJF hate on Twitter is performative? A lot of just about any hate on Twitter is performative. That doesn't mean there's not real things or real issues. Max drives me crazy sometimes too, but part of being on Twitter is being performative, is posting, right? Like I do stuff that's performative. It's for sure. It's just a part of the game. Do you think Dwayne wins the Oscar if this Mark Kerr movie is made? And it's very unlikely, but I think he is going to campaign with everything he's got to make it happen. Everything he's got. Fought on solo shadow boxing, looking sharp. Didn't look sharp at all, but looking sharp. This Dame Priest feud has made me realize I had somehow been underrating Gunther. He somehow turned Priest into a top babyface of the company. He's pretty good, mate. Gunther is pretty good. The Priest Gunther stuff actually looks like it's been built pretty well, which is cool. Marcus in the chat says hologram or die. Right, quickly, I want to do this. Hologram Beast Mortos was incredible. Somehow better than Darby and Beast Mortos. It was definitely, I thought, better than the Commander match too. Good lord. And not only was the match great, it felt like a happening in that building, didn't it? The way the people got with it and the way the people got with hologram. Oh my god. Look, we nitpick a lot with creative. It was genuinely genius to debut hologram on the first week of a residency. So by the time he leaves this building, people at home have seen him getting huge reactions for 6 weeks. Tremendous stuff. Great match. There you go. Brainbuster was at Deathport on. His ears legitimately hurt during the Von Erich's tag. Chuck is not into Hangman versus Okada or Hangman versus Jarrett, which I respect. JJH watching WCW 1989, such a lovely watch. Had seen the big matches before, but seeing the weekly context adds so much. Funk's run is godly. How would you compare his stint in '89 to others similar runs? I think in a lot of ways it's the ultimate old man run, partly because it's very hard because of what it then shapes, in the sense that the '89 run does not operate in a vacuum, because in a lot of ways it like is the bridge to who he was in the '90s. I think the obvious example, Terry was 45 in '89. I mean, you know, like all labor folks, but the obvious example immediately is Punk in AEW. I don't think that's a coincidence. Punk was, you know, striving for that in some ways. It's different, of course. I just mean in terms of age and, you know, some of the context there. I'm trying to think of other return runs like that. And one of the other reasons it's really hard to make a comparison is that Terry was retired after doing that forcefully. They told him he was done. He was too old. Jim Herd didn't want him to be in the ring anymore. Even though he came in and had this classic rivalry, he was sent to the announce booth. But I mean, here's a fun one that's completely different. But it's a guy coming back from Hollywood. Slightly different Hollywood run, but it works, I guess. I mean, I guess you would say that, you know, in some fashion, The Rock coming back and shooting the angle he's shot and cutting the promos he cut was like his own little microwaved, you know, version there of him coming in as the top heel and heating up the territory. So there's a fun one. But Terry Funk 1989 is one of the definitive old man wrestling, you know, kind of comeback runs. But a lot of that is because of what followed and the fact that he was relevant throughout so much of the 90s as the middle-aged and crazy Terry Funk that became, for a lot of people, is his most famous version. So yeah, Terry Funk, pretty good. I have lost where I am. Very bad. Stevie Richards, I just saw. That means I'm close. There we go. Okay. Ricochet Pac at Wembley. Good idea, because I don't know what else Pac is going to do. That's a good idea. Who's some of your favorite heels going in wrestling today? I think Christian Cage is probably the premier heel. Go watch the way that he got the people. I mean, they already like the Bang Bang Gang, but just the way that he just made their decision for them was like, he's a master. I think he's great. Beyond him, Gunther. Gunther is probably the best in-ring heel in wrestling. I think it's been great to see Mercedes' confidence as a personality as a heel. I think that's a game changer for her. Her in-ring as a heel has always been superb. I mean, she's great at both sides of that, but how aggressive she can be as a heel, she definitely comes to mind in that regard. Athena is an incredible bully heel. Super rough and aggressive and makes just about anyone seem sympathetic by contrast. She's great. I'm almost certain you missed it. who, but I answered the DG one earlier. It was a pretty lengthy answer that I want to circle back, but basically I don't know. So it wasn't a great answer, unfortunately. Okay, now I've caught up to the wrestlers that are cool. Now I've caught up. Chono, yes, we did this bit. Tangaloa was a good suggestion, of course. How could I forget? The Lethal Weapon, Steve Blackman. There you go. Is there a wrestler in WWE who likes Cody less than Big Ro? I'm sure, dude. There's quirky personalities and things of that nature, you know. Have watched the start of this stream before skipping right to live. When do I get to have Manny and the American and a team review of the M1 Climax? Well, it's a good question. The American is always welcome. For anyone who's unaware, American is the third page for Larry Bird. One day we will get him on the Late Night Grin. One day it will happen. MVP talk in the chat, Pop. Chuck had no idea that happened, which rules. Joe, have you caught up any of the G1? I've not. I've one way out of the loop. Way out of the loop. Very sad. I apologize. Way out of the loop. Jesus, where's a motorcycle now? I'm a relatively new viewer and missed all of WWE from 2017 to 2013. Is the Alexa Bliss thing a bit? It depends what part of it. So, like, Alexa was a really strong character and heel in the late, I got my years right, the mid to late 2010s, at a time where there wasn't a lot of personality on the show. So I was a legitimate fan of that run. There was a lot of issues with that run. The main one being that the World Wrestling Federation hated babyfaces, so she would kind of just be used as like an assassinator, killing babyfaces left and right. It's very bad, but you know, is what it is, wrestling, right? The spooky stuff, I pretty much like hated. But I mean, at that point, you're already deep enough in the game. You might as well have some fun with it, right? So I kind of rolled with it. I enjoyed the Bliss Cross team. It was an actual thing that I popped for very much. But yeah, it's a lot of it is bit, but you know, you have to have fun with these things. Part of it for me is, you guys have probably noticed this, I enjoy the idea, and I'm a big believer in the idea that sometimes you can simply just like professional wrestlers, you know? I don't want to get to the point where liking a professional wrestler is an indication that they're on my like top 100 list or whatever, or I think they're a future G1 winner, you know? Some wrestlers just pop you. I mean, here's what it is. Might have seen them at a certain point in your life, you know? It's fun. And when she comes back, we will absolutely use that for an hour of content. Well, 15 minutes of content, maybe. All right. I appreciate the love in the chat. Do you think Fedor is overrated? I absolutely do not. No. Fedor's prime was terrifying. Terrifying. Okay. Where's your reaction if Solo wins at Summerfest? Fucking awesome. Hilarious. Would laugh out loud. Probably cry even laughing. I have seen the SummerSlam emoji, yes. Okay, 1 second. StreamYard is fucked. Okay. Okay, I'm almost. Sometimes we are so over that StreamYard breaks. Very unfortunate. I think I'm there. Here we go. How funny is Tangaloa? He had 2 matches in the WWE, said, fuck it, debut Jacob, we'll figure out the rest. He's the greatest of all time. He is currently lapping the big LG Doc Gallows in terms of the like output, work rate, quote unquote, for paycheck. Gallows has never done it to this level. He is in the top angle in all of wrestling. He is in the top faction of all of wrestling. And God bless him, he appears to be like, he can't be trusted to do anything. It rules. I love it. Seems like a lovely guy too. So God bless him. Good luck to him. It is very cool. I mean, I saw, I know someone posted a clip, or I was talking to someone about it, but I don't know if I've mentioned it on here before. I apologize if I have. But when they tried out together, they signed Tanga and didn't sign Tama. It was a very, very emotional thing. Tama, I remember seeing Tanga tell the story and bursting in tears telling the story because it was a very traumatic thing for them, right? They tried together and one of them that someone didn't. Obviously, that's now spun hilariously, but they must be really can't believe their luck. They've finally made the jump. You know, the prior Camacho is now somehow on the SummerSlam poster. Wrestling's really weird, dude. It's a really weird industry. Yeah, the collision rating on Cage Match was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. All right, we're almost caught up. Good, because I don't want to do as long a show tonight because I'm getting old. As I was in the building last night, my God, I hope you enjoyed the show. Watching the Creed throw suplexes, I couldn't help think about how a match involving Gary Albright and the Creeds would look. That'd be a hoot. Bro, I saw some clips of the Creeds and that looked like as natural a fit as we hoped it would be. Very cool. Dom is a great heel. I should have mentioned him. I agree with you. I think Beast Mortos actually could be like a featured act, to be honest. I actually don't really see the reason why he couldn't be. Jake Lee talk in the chat. Reese Hayes at it again. At it again. There you go. It's just wrestling, you know. Colito talk. Chat's taking a real turn here. There's no Tim Thatch in the N1 this year. Absolute horseshit. That is disgusting, to be fair. I'm with you on that. It's anti-British, isn't it? The premier British grappler not in the tournament. Disgraceful. Do you feel like New Japan can still do a satisfying Tanahashi-esque torch passing? Sorry, my thing's got half the comment. I see. I can look it on the screen, actually. Never mind. Basically, can they still pass the torch in a way that's satisfying with Okada gone and Naito physically depleted? I think yes. I think, especially with Naito's, he's mercurial. You know, I'll put it that way. You never know. Maybe one day he might just show up and decide he's going to have a really good match, and somehow he'll get through it. He looks like he's in agony to me. I actually think it's, as I've said previously, I actually think it's a little bit of a scary situation what's going on there. But I think you can still do it. I just think you need a bit of luck, and you need to hope Naito's having one of those good nights where he can, muster whatever he has left. It ain't ideal, though, to your point. The Okada thing's tough. Like, it would have been really nice to get a job out of him on the way out. But, what's done is done. Need a big plunder. OC, OTM mixed tag. Hope it's the direction. I think it is. Pop. Hope you're well, Jake. Joe, did you see Phil Brooks' pitch of him and seeing Phil Brooks pop? My God, dude. Matt sent me a link with holy fuck, and it was a baseball clip. Dude, I thought it was like wrestling news. I was very scared. I did see it. I think it makes sense. I think Cena should lean on all-star tags. Angelo in War Games is incredible fault. What happened to Talking Shop? I don't know. It's very sad, though. Very sad. We must reclaim Talking Shop. We must. What would you think of a Liv Morgan, Finn Balor, and Uncle Alan reunion? It would be a hilarious callback if it all looped back to that and they were like, "We got you, playing all along." It'd be hilarious. You think Penta and Phoenix leave for the Fed? I do not. No, they've got a pretty sweet deal, man. They really do. Like, personally, I think there'd be an intrigue to that because it's fresh. So I'm not like attached to it either way, but I feel like Tony pays them and loves having them around. Even if they're not pushed necessarily, they're always around, right? When they're healthy, they're used, and I'd imagine they stay. I have seen the Beast Mortos backstage videos. They're incredible. What's the direction for the AJ return to TV? I'm not wavering on Andrade, dude. We got to do Andrade. Puts the boots to Andrade. I'm actually like I'm kind of desperate for that to happen, whatever it's going to be. Like even if it's not that, I think SmackDown would benefit greatly from having him back around. What do you think would be the best bad blood? What do you think would be the bad blood Hell in a Cell match? You'd think Cody, but could be Punk. I kind of think it's going to be Punk and Seth Freakin, actually, which I'm not sure I want to see. I mean, I want to see it, but I don't know if I want to see it. I'm not right. I mean, I think there's a chance they do Big Rome and Solo. Ideally, I would do Punk and Drew. I just don't think that's going to happen. LJ Cleary pop. Chat's been wild tonight. Need Force on Team USA and my glorious King carrying the squad. He's older. Dude, he is a freak, as is KD. Good Lord. Enjoyed. That was nice to watch a game of basketball at 4 p.m. My time was nice. Absolute chills when we get the Jim Uso pot on Friday. I think it's in play, dude. I think it's in play. I think they'll probably switch the belts, but they may do the Jim Uso. Who knows? You bring back WCW, who are the first five wrestlers you sign? Great question. The FTR are almost absurd in how WCW they are. The FTR. That's 1 and 2. We need... I don't want to go full nostalgia, but unfortunately, I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to just go over old blokes because realistically, what young guys would you immediately think? Oh, that's WCW. I think we need to bring a couple guys home. Ray Jr., WCW Hall of Famer and legend. Welcome back to the team. And everyone's favorite WCW wrestler, partner of Air Paris. I think Uncle Alan has to come home too. I mean, if we're running out of Atlanta, Georgia Boy, you can't go wrong with that, right? Those two fellas can wrestle until they're 100. They're going to have a couple 3.5s. And then we'll have a Sting-like figure in our women's division, and we'll take Bianca Belair to just round it off. That'll be the centerpiece of our promotion, I think. Bianca will just be Sting. So I think is what I'm going with. Sting, which is Bianca Belair, AJ Styles, Ray Jr., and the FTR. World Championship Wrestling. I did not see the SmackDown main event, but Mia Yim is fucking awesome. Huge fan. Super thrilled for her that she's in the ball game. Okay. Maybe too big a topic for this time, maybe. Might open the wallet for a super chat for another time. Open the wallet, pop me. But you're still planning the greatest wrestler ever gimmick. Who are the realistic number one contenders in your mind right now? I am not still planning it because, unfortunately, when you combine all the other factors that eat up time, I just don't think I could do it justice. But I will still have respect for the great third page of Larry Bird. My realistic contenders, if I was to just do it tomorrow, which I'm not equipped to do it, but if I was, my realistic contenders would be Funk. And folks, I apologize in advance. He's a piece of shit. We all know it. But Ric Flair, he's got to be a contender for better or worse. Stan Hansen, I would circle, and Bryan Danielson. I think those 4 names, Funk, Flair, Hansen, Danielson, those would be my 4 names that I would personally look at for the 1 seed. Each of them with ridiculous amounts of longevity, right? I think, a couple of the names there, less varied skill sets than the other 2. But I think those are the 4 guys that I would look at personally if I was to do one, which I'm not, but yeah. I would love to hear it. I'd love to hear Jamie Hayter's music at Wembley. That'd be awesome. Absolutely, that'd be awesome. Be tremendous. ROH gets TV tomorrow. Who are the 5 actually build it around? Well, I think you have to finish the story with Billy and Athena, right? So we'll count that as an act. Tag team, I think, top flight, and you really I say that, but they are really I think I'd really be tempted to push them right now on the main shows. But for the sake of conversation, I'll say Top Flight. I'd make them the kind of ace tag team. So I think it would help them to have 20-minute tag matches on pay-per-views, and I think it would be a good experience for them. To be honest, I would probably just decide, am I pushing Top Flight or Private Party next for the belts? Whichever one I'm not, I'd make the Ring of Honor team and give them those belts. Singles. I'll try and pull up the roster here because it's a good question. Let's try and figure out some names here. So we have our lead program in the women's division. We have our top tag team. Let's come up with a top singles program. Because I've got to be honest, I know he's the champ right now. I don't think Mark should be down Ring of Honor for much longer. I think Mark should honestly be one of the top stars on the Dynamite or the Collision at this point in the game. All right, I'm scrolling furiously here. I'm seeing names of prominent professional wrestlers. I would immediately circle Budrow Matthews for his excursion from House of Black. I think there's something to be said for getting something out of him as a singles. And on a show that no one really is going to watch, that's probably your best bet. Claudio, you've already done that project. I don't think that's what Daniel Garcia is looking for necessarily. Dustin Rhodes wouldn't be someone you'd build around. I would look at a Switchblade Jay White, perhaps, as someone that if you got a TV deal, wouldn't be as much of a demotion. At least he could be a top star on that show, which I don't think is on the cards on the quote-unquote main roster. So I would look at maybe a Switchblade Jay White, and we'll program him. Good Lord, this is a hilarious roster. There are many professional wrestlers here that are not quite in the ball game right now, but mildly. Sting, I think Sting is gonna. Why is Sting still on the roster? For now, we'll say we'll run Jay and Marcus Briscoe, but I don't love the answer. I don't love the answer at all. It's difficult because there's no hierarchy. A lot of the guys I want to pick, I'd actually rather pick to push on the main roster. Like, I don't want to say Takeshita. Takeshita should be like fighting for the world's title, you know? Seems like that would be the logical thing. I say Jay White because to me, Jay's just going to be doing trio stuff. Yeah, there's a loose answer for now. I'll circle back to that maybe. Budrow Matthews and I don't know, something like that. I hope we somehow get AJ and Roman on a Big Four pay-per-view while AJ is still in form. That'd be sick. I mean, if Roman's coming back as a babyface, right? Maybe we can. Maybe so. I agree with you. I think the Otis Gable stuff has been a mistake from what I've seen pretty clearly. And so, speaking of the Olympics, when you get a chance, Joe, take a look at your fellow Brit. I saw that. I saw the judging. Yeah, I saw that situation. I haven't actually watched it, but I saw the story. Yeah. Despicable. There's no way they're going back to Bucks FTR versus they're doing Bucks FTR claim at Wembley, right? There's definitely a way. You're saying that's most likely, actually, to be honest with you. I would not have AJ in. I think AJ is behind Dragon, so from this generation, Dragon would be my contender for greatest ever. But AJ would be in my top 10. He would be in my top 10 personally. But again, what the fuck do I know, right? What does that mean? Also, Hologram's performance so far, spectacular. And yes, Beast Morto should be on TV. That whole thing, both of those little mini projects are home runs, dude. More Beast Morto's better. And he should actually give a role on TV and be someone that they've pushed, I think. Push, like, I know not everyone can get a big push, but I think he should be a real player on the show. Do you have any takes on Mania in London? Will you be going? I mean, I assume I'd go. It's cool. It's not saying I'm like super locked in on because I'm hilariously decided to go to Vegas. So I'm kind of like, that's the only thing I could even. My brain can only process a couple of things at once. I'm going to Vegas WrestleMania. What they do after that is the least of my concern. But I'd imagine I'll go. Yeah, depending on how expensive the tickets are, because They're a little crazy with these things. Brody King's a good one too, yeah, for the Ring of Honor. Random thoughts on Ron Simmons. A great example of why you can sometimes make the mistake of overly dwelling on the mechanics or the psychological pieces at play in professional wrestling when you can instead just watch a guy absolutely clobber people and slam them through the mat and pump your fist. Ron Simmons is simple pro wrestling perfection. Just physicality, looks cool as hell, by the way. He should be on that cool list. He's a beast. I think it's a real shame the world title run went the way it did, because while I'm not sure he ever could have been Sting necessarily, that thing was Snake. I mean, he works Barbarian at Havoc, dude. It's a real shame. It's a real shame. So, yeah, Ron Simmons is awesome. I am still alive, so I bet yes. Anthony Bowens, there you go. Anthony Bowens would be a great person to be Ring of Honor World Champ. I don't know why you guys even asked me the questions. You have better answers. Okay, I'm going to close with this. Well, I'm going to talk about this, and then I'll do. If you have any last questions, we'll do 5 minutes. But I did put this as the thumbnail. The Kingdom, the Undisputed Kingdom, whatever we're calling them, versus Dustin Von Erichs this past Saturday was honestly staggering in just how much of a punch it packed and how much of a significance it apparently had once the bell rung. It's a great example of how dumb wrestling is, in the sense that here you have a heel faction, 3 very good wrestlers, but they've not got a lot of juice as a TV act, right? They don't get like a huge reaction. People boo them, they're fine, they're doing their thing. Opposite them, you have a veteran babyface who never wins on TV, pretty much. He's 55 years old. And he is teaming up with 2 fellas who, with all due respect, have spent most of their professional career on Major League Wrestling, having pretty bad matches. Had one of the worst Briscoe matches I'd ever seen. But they've got a shot at the big time. And so far in AEW, they've been pretty good, I think. They had committed exactly 1 segment on TV to the Dustin Von Erichs act. 1 segment. They then had a match in the middle of a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. They were being honest, not that many people saw. It was not a home run, I don't think, it's fair to say, and it went much longer than it needed to, but they had 1 match. And they are wrestling the aforementioned heel faction for probably the least important belts in all of wrestling. The Ring of Honor World Trios titles. I mean, seriously, it's almost like a parody. And yet, in the heat of the battle, as things escalate, as Kevin Von Erich puts the claw on, you could have convinced me that was the most important match of the month. It was staggering. Staggering. And why was that the case? It wasn't any genius, psychological ploy or storytelling tactic. It was a great reminder of the fact that pro wrestling, no match lives in a vacuum. Context and history affects every single match we watch. Texas, the Von Erichs, the Rhodes, all of that, the fact Kevin was actually there at ringside, all of that was like a magic that almost lost the match. The match got swept up in it. The match couldn't help but be good. And the match actually mechanically was pretty good. It had a couple of hitches and a couple, rough moments, rough edges. But it didn't matter, did it? Because the people had just decided, we care about this, actually. This is something that we want to see happen. And it's a great example of kind of why I think wrestling is addicting in some ways. You just never know what night you're going to tune in and see something that's kind of, I use that word again, magical. It was, I thought. I thought it was powerful. I thought it was actually like moving. And really, it had no reason to be any of those things, because it was a veteran and a pretty unheralded tag team winning trios belts that have been an accessory, to say the least, in recent months. But you could have fooled me, man. That shit was, I mean, I think it had some people crying out there, and I don't blame them. It was powerful. Very powerful. So, awesome stuff. A genuinely good match, but that almost feels like a lame way to describe it because there are a bunch of good matches, and I won't remember many of them as much as I'll remember that. Very unique. Credit to them for just getting out of their own way and being like, this is something that people will like and the Texas crowd will enjoy it. They sure did, man. Good Lord. Incredible. Top 5 on the mic all time. Really, really tough question. I immediately would look at Arn. I would look at Bockwinkel. I would look at Dusty, Savage. Savage was great because he was heavy on shtick, but his content was tremendous, and the way he would get an angle over in his promo. Jake, I think you have to look at. I think I said 5. Flair could be incredible. The deeper Flair got in his career, he did become a little bit of like a parody of himself, but his energy was always great. Ole Anderson was a great promo. A lot of real pieces of shit, as you can tell. The Rock is probably the most entertaining as like a personality when it comes to promos. Piper, a lot. There's a handful of names for you. All right. Which wrestler will get the best match you had in the ring? Probably Ishii, right? Or Suzuki. I think they'll be falling down much, and that's kind of how they operate. All right, last couple here. Unfortunately, Jackie Crosby is not going to be able to make Friday's show. I'm sad too. Did you see I did not see the Punk match on the Vault. Looking ahead, do you think Dynasty in Japan will be a dome-worthy show? They announced it just sort of continued chugging along. I'm interested, but also have some real concerns about the show. I actually get that, yeah. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's going to be quite the dream or the big-time card that I personally think when I think Tokyo Dome. I wonder what balance there is in terms of like all-star tags. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a great question. I'm with you completely in the sense that it was something that was announced, and it's just kind of like, well, we'll see what happens when it comes around. It feels like it should be a really big. The Tokyo Dome is not. It's not a building you just kind of run on a whim. But then again, I doubted them about Wembley before, and you saw how that turned out. So very interesting. Very interesting. Something I'd completely forgotten about, hilariously. I did not see the Penta business. I saw clips, which looked very cool. Great. I will watch the Bailey match at some point. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, I will. Bandcamp, bro. I go watch it. All right, I'm going to get out of here because I've been here a lot longer than I intended to be because, of course. Please like this video. It helps out a lot. I haven't said that once in this. Please like the video, subscribe, leave a comment below. It helps a lot. I apologize for leading this show with like a completely unsolicited meeting about the future of Late Night Grin. I apologize. Probably very boring. Don't know how much it made sense. But my intentions were just to be transparent with you all as our audience. I think that's important. So with that in mind, again, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment below. Honestly, comment on stuff you'd like to see on the channel. Because clearly we need the suggestions. We're listening. We want to hear what you guys want ultimately, right? So yeah, please comment that stuff below or don't. It's up to you. But like the video if nothing else. With that in mind, keep grinning. Thanks for the house. And enjoy this outro, folks. Have a wonderful evening.